The night Harper Collins showed up at my apartment door, drenched from head to toe, I thought it was the beginning of a scandal. It turned out to be the beginning of a redemption. Rain hammered against the cracked windows of our third-floor apartment in Portland, Oregon, the kind of relentless downpour that blurred streetlights into halos. I had just finished a 12-hour shift at the auto shop, grease still lining my fingernails, exhaustion clinging to my bones. My roommate, Marcus Bennett, was out of town visiting family in Idaho, and I was alone with the hum of the refrigerator and the quiet ache of another day that felt like it led nowhere. Then came the knock. Not polite, not hesitant, urgent. When I opened the door, Harper stood there, water dripping from her hair, her thin sweater plastered against her skin, her eyes wide but steady. Marcus had shown me pictures of his younger sister before, but seeing her like that, soaked, shivering, yet strangely composed, was something else entirely. She brushed past me without waiting for an invitation, leaving small puddles on the hardwood floor. She asked for a towel and told me to keep my eyes on her face. It wasn't flirtation. It was a command born of pride and desperation. If you believe in kindness and second chances, take a second right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stories like this remind us that sometimes the most unexpected moments carry the deepest lessons. Harper wasn't there to seduce me. She was there because she had nowhere else to go. I learned the truth in fragments over the next hour as she sat wrapped in an old navy towel, her damp auburn hair falling over her shoulders. She had driven down from Seattle after a brutal breakup. Her fiancé, Caleb Turner, had called off their engagement 2 weeks before the wedding. Not quietly. Not kindly. He had accused her of being too emotional, too intense, too much. She had tried to salvage what was left of her dignity, but when she discovered he had already moved on, something inside her broke. She had left without a plan. No hotel reservation, no backup, just a tank of gas and a storm chasing her down the interstate. Marcus would have welcomed her with open arms, but he was unreachable, camping somewhere with no cell reception. I was the only familiar face within 200 miles, and I was the last person she wanted to depend on. Because I wasn't impressive. I wasn't polished. I wasn't the kind of man her family imagined her ending up with. I was just Owen Parker, the guy who fixed transmissions and paid his half of the rent on time. The guy who never quite finished community college because his dad got sick and medical bills stacked higher than textbooks. Harper had always been the accomplished one. Marketing executive, engaged to a man with a downtown condo and a tailored wardrobe. She lived a life that looked good on Instagram. I lived one that smelled faintly of motor oil. The first challenge wasn't temptation, it was tension. 2 adults under one roof, one couch, one spare blanket, and a storm that refused to let up. I offered her my bedroom and took the couch without hesitation. It was the only decent thing to do. But lying there in the dark, listening to the creak of the floorboards as she paced above me, I realized this wasn't just about offering shelter. It was about navigating boundaries, pride, and unspoken judgments. The next morning, the rain hadn't stopped. Neither had the heaviness in her eyes. Harper insisted she would leave as soon as the weather cleared. She didn't want to be a burden. I could see the way she avoided looking at the mismatched furniture, the faded curtains, the smallness of my world. Not with disgust, but with discomfort. She was confronting a version of reality she had carefully avoided. Over the next few days, the storm lingered, and so did she. At first, we orbited each other cautiously. She worked remotely at the kitchen table, fingers flying across her laptop. I left early for the shop, came back late. But small things began to shift. She started cooking dinner instead of ordering takeout. I fixed the leaky faucet she noticed but never mentioned. We watched old movies in the evenings, sitting on opposite ends of the couch like 2 diplomats negotiating peace. One night, the power went out. The apartment plunged into darkness, and for a moment, all the distance between us disappeared. We lit candles and sat on the floor, backs against the couch, shadows flickering across the walls. In that quiet, stripped of distractions, Harper finally let her guard down. She admitted she had built her life around proving she was worthy of love, of admiration, of security. When Caleb left, it wasn't just heartbreak, it was humiliation. I confessed that I had stopped chasing big dreams because I was afraid of failing publicly. It felt safer to aim small than to fall from somewhere high. In that dim candlelight, we weren't the mechanic and the executive. We were just two people nursing invisible wounds. The real challenge came a week later when Caleb showed up. He had tracked her phone location through their shared account. He arrived in a sleek black SUV that looked out of place in our cracked parking lot. I watched from the window as he stepped out, confident and polished, rain bouncing off his expensive coat. Harper's hands trembled when she saw him. Part of me wanted to stay out of it. It wasn't my fight. But another part, one I didn't recognize at first, refused to let her face that storm alone. They talked outside for nearly 20 minutes. I couldn't hear the words, but I saw the gestures, his impatience, her restraint. Finally, she turned away from him. He grabbed her wrist. Something inside me snapped. I was down the stairs before I could think, heart pounding louder than the rain. I didn't shout. I didn't threaten. I simply stepped between them and told him she had made her choice. There was a steadiness in my voice that surprised even me. Caleb looked at me like I was temporary, like I was beneath the conversation. But he left. And Harper didn't cry. Instead, she stood there in the rain, breathing hard, and for the first time since she arrived, she looked free. After that, the air between us changed, not into something reckless or inappropriate, into something respectful, honest. She began asking about the auto shop, about my unfinished degree. She told me I was too intelligent to hide behind excuses. I told her she was too strong to measure her worth by someone else's approval. Days turned into 2 weeks. The storm finally passed, leaving behind crisp autumn mornings and streets washed clean. Harper found a short-term rental nearby, but didn't rush to move. She started volunteering at a local community center, helping small business owners with marketing strategies. She helped me revamp the shop's online presence, creating a website that brought in more customers in a month than we had seen all summer. For the first time in years, I enrolled in night classes again. It wasn't romance that saved us. It was belief. Belief that we were more than the roles we had settled into, more than the narratives others wrote for us. The night before she moved into her own place, we sat on the apartment roof, legs dangling over the edge, city lights stretching out beneath us. Portland felt different now, less like a cage, more like a beginning. She thanked me, not for the couch or the towels, but for seeing her as more than someone abandoned at the altar. I thanked her for seeing me as more than a mechanic who quit too soon. Before this story ends, I have a special request. Comment the word "second chance" if you believe people can rebuild stronger after heartbreak. Harper did move out. She built her own life in Portland, not as someone running away, but as someone choosing where to stand. We didn't rush into a relationship. We let friendship anchor us first. We let growth happen individually before intertwining our futures. A year later, I graduated with my associate degree. The auto shop expanded into a larger space. Harper launched her own consulting firm, helping small-town businesses thrive. On the anniversary of the night she arrived soaked in the rain, we stood outside that same apartment building. It wasn't dramatic. No storm, no chaos. Just quiet gratitude. She had shown up asking for a towel and demanding I keep my eyes steady. What she really needed was someone to see her strength when she couldn't. And what I needed was someone to remind me that small beginnings don't define big endings. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe for more stories that remind us how powerful simple kindness can be. Your support helps these stories reach the people who need them most. Sometimes love doesn't arrive dressed in perfection. Sometimes it shows up drenched, unannounced, and carrying nothing but broken pieces. And sometimes, if we're brave enough to open the door, we discover that healing another person is the first step toward healing ourselves.